The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Meditations, literally things to one's self, is a series of personal writings by Marcus Aurelius, Roman emperor from 161 to 180 AD, recording his private notes to himself and ideas on Stoic philosophy. Marcus Aurelius wrote the 12 books of the Meditations in Koine Greek as a source for his own guidance and self-improvement. It is possible that large portions of the work were written at Sirmium, where he spent much time planning military campaigns from 170 to 180. Some of it was written while he was positioned at Aquincum on campaign in Pannonia, because internal notes tell us that the first book was written when he was campaigning against the Quadi on the river Granova, modern-day Haron, and the second book was written at Carnuntum. It is unlikely that Marcus Aurelius ever intended the writings to be published, and the work has no official title, so Meditations is one of several titles commonly assigned to the collection. These writings take the form of quotations varying in length from one sentence to long paragraphs. The Meditations is divided into 12 books that chronicle different periods of Marcus's life. Each book is not in chronological order, and it was written for no one but himself. The style of writing that permeates the text is one that is simplified, straightforward, and perhaps reflecting Marcus's Stoic perspective on the text. Depending on the English translation, Marcus's style is not viewed as anything regal or belonging to royalty, but rather a man among other men, which allows the reader to relate to his wisdom. A central theme to Meditations is the importance of analyzing one's judgment of self and others and the development of a cosmic perspective. As he said, you have the power to strip away many superfluous troubles located wholly in your judgment, and to possess a large room for yourself embracing in thought the whole cosmos, to consider everlasting time, to think of the rapid change in the parts of each thing, of how short it is from birth until dissolution, and how the void before birth and that after dissolution are equally infinite. He advocates finding one's place in the universe and sees that everything came from nature, and so everything shall return to it in due time. Another strong theme is of maintaining focus and to be without distraction, all the while maintaining strong ethical principles such as being a good man. His Stoic ideas often involve avoiding indulgence in sensory affections, a skill which will free a man from the pains and pleasures of the material world. He claims that the only way a man can be harmed by others is to allow his reaction to overpower him. An order or logos permeates existence. Rationality and clear-mindedness allow one to live in harmony with the logos. This allows one to rise above faulty perceptions of good and bad. Things out of your control like fame and health are, unlike things in your control, irrelevant and neither good nor bad. Marcus Aurelius has been lauded for his capacity to write down what was in his heart just as it was, not obscured by any consciousness of the presence of listeners or any striving after effect. Gilbert Murray compares the work to Jean-Jacques Rousseau's Confessions and St. Augustine's Confessions. Though Murray criticizes Marcus for the harshness and plainness of his literary style, he finds in his Meditations as much intensity of feeling, as in most of the nobler modern books of religion, only with a sterner power controlling it. People fail to understand Marcus, he writes, not because of his lack of self-expression, but because it is hard for most men to breathe at that intense height of spiritual life, or, at least, to breathe soberly. D. A. Rees calls the Meditations unendingly moving and inspiring, but does not offer them up as works of original philosophy. Bertrand Russell found them contradictory and inconsistent, evidence of a tired age where even real goods lose their savor. Using Marcus as an example of greater Stoic philosophy, he found their ethical philosophy to contain an element of sour grapes. We can't be happy, but we can be good, let us therefore pretend that, so long as we are good, it doesn't matter being unhappy. Both Russell and Rees find an element of Marcus's Stoic philosophy in the philosophical system of Immanuel Kant. German philosopher Georg Hegel offers a critique of Stoicism that follows similar lines, albeit covering different trajectories. In his Phenomenology of Spirit, Hegel attacks the preoccupation with the inner self as a severing, fatalistic barrier to consciousness. A philosophy that reduces all states of harm or injustice to emotional states could only appear on the scene in a time of universal fear and bondage. The Stoic refusal to meet the world as anathema to life, a central value in Hegel's philosophical work, whether on the throne or in chains, in the utter dependence of its individual existence. Its aim is to be free, and to maintain that lifeless indifference which steadfastly withdraws from the bustle of existence. M.L. Clarke concurs in his historical work on philosophical ideas, The Roman Mind, where he states political liberty could hardly flourish after so many years of despotism and the indifference to public affairs which it bred. And philosophy fostered the same spirit. In the introduction to his 1964 translation of Meditations, the Anglican priest Maxwell Staniforth discussed the profound impact of Stoicism on Christianity. Michael Grant called Marcus Aurelius the noblest of all the men who, by sheer intelligence and force of character, have prized and achieved goodness for its own sake and not for any reward. Gregory Hayes' translation of Meditations for the Modern Library made the bestseller list for 2 weeks in 2002. The book has been described as a prototype of reflective practice by Seamus Mac Sweeney. United States President Bill Clinton said that Meditations is his favorite book, and United States Secretary of Defense James Mattis carried his own personal copy of the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius throughout his deployments as a Marine Corps officer in the Persian Gulf, Afghanistan and Iraq.